Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Midas Letter RAW live show with Ed Milewski.
And
Mark Latimer. Thanks, Ed.
Mark, how you doing?
I'm doing very well.
Good.
Particularly good. Nice day out?
Yeah, you know what? The weather's nice. The fall weather, it seems like everybody says one of their favorite times of year is the fall weather. It's usually drier, not so much humidity, and it cools off, late in the day. It's nice time of year.
Yeah, we had a little bit of a cold weekend, but coming up on the show today, we've got an awesome lineup. Alessandro Bruno is going to be doing the news, and we have a fantastic site tour at Halo Labs that our crew has been putting together for the last month.
Would that be in Oregon? Is that in Oregon?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, it's just fantastic. California, Nevada, and Oregon. So that's going to look great. Can't wait to see it. And we also you had a conversation with Charting Man Dan.
Dan and I've been on interviews with him and James, but it was just Dan and I. When two technical guys, and I don't put myself in his category, but when you look at the same chart, you know what you're talking about, right? RSI means RSI. Charts are more math. To me, news is more art, like trying to figure out. Charts tell you a lot if you listen to the signals. If you don't listen to the signals, you can get spanked pretty good.
Yeah, he really knows his stuff, man.
When we chatted, we talked about the importance of, setting up stops. Like if you're wrong, admit it early. You'll live to fight another day. You got to be in the game to fight another day.
Yeah, you can't go broke making a profit, right?
Well, you're taking a small loss.
Yeah.
Small losses aren't the problem.
You want to play tomorrow.
If you're stubborn, you may find that you don't have any money left.
That's not a good position to be in.
No,
so
unless
if you're losing, stop.
Yeah.
Stop the losses.
Yeah.
Okay. So, quiet day. Interest rates are a bit up.
Interest rates a bit up, and we're gonna look at this effect on Deutsche Bank, because Deutsche Bank is the bank that everybody's looking at in Europe as the biggest one. It's interesting. In fact, shall we put up a chart of Deutsche Bank now, or shall we do it later, or what should we do?
Maybe let's take a look at the news, and then we'll be right back.
All right.
Here's what's making cannabis headlines this Tuesday, September the 10th. Aurora Cannabis has closed its previously announced amended and upsized credit facilities with a syndicate of lenders led by the Bank of Montreal. The facilities consist of an additional $160 million Canadian in term loans, as well as a feature to upsize the facility by approximately $40 million Canadian, in addition to the original $200 million in credit facilities, all of which mature in 2021. Canopy Rivers announced its portfolio company Herbert Works has received its research and development license from Health Canada to develop branded cannabis-infused beverages. Herbert Works' mission is to combine advanced technology with its knowledge of cannabis to create products specifically designed around consumers' many lifestyle needs. Canopy Rivers currently holds 23% of the equity of Herbert Works on a fully diluted basis. Rapid Dose Therapeutics announced that the installation and commissioning of its quick strip production equipment at Aphria has been completed. Under the agreement, Aphria has been granted an exclusive license to manufacture and distribute and sell RDT's quick strip delivery technology product to the medical and adult use cannabis markets in Canada. In light of the installation of RDT quick strip production equipment, Aphria will now move forward with its production and distribution planning in Canada. MedMen Enterprises announced that the waiting period has expired with respect to the proposed acquisition of PharmaCann. The expiration of the waiting period under the HSR Act satisfies one condition needed to close the transaction, which is expected to be completed by the end of calendar year 2019. PharmaCann shareholders are expected to receive approximately 168.4 million shares in the combined company based on MedMen's fully diluted shares outstanding as of June 29, 2019. Balance Growworks announced revenue guidance for the recently completed third quarter 2019 in the range of $16 million to $17 million. This guidance shows an increase over its second quarter 2019 revenue of $8.8 million. The company expects to report that it has extracted over 26 kilograms of cannabis and hemp biomass in the third quarter of 2019. Cannabis Global has entered into a supply agreement with the Ontario Cannabis Retail Corporation to supply adult-use recreational cannabis to retailers throughout the province. Cannabis Global will begin supplying OCS with 21 distinct adult-use cannabis products under its Namaste and Blazery brand in the third quarter of 2019. Lyft & Co. released Cohesion, the company's data-as-service platform. Cohesion draws from millions of Lyft & Co.'s cannabis consumer and bud tender data points accumulated through verified reviews, purchase receipts, and brand research on the Lyft Co. and CanSell platforms. By subscribing to Cohesion, Canadian cannabis brands will gain new insights into consumer purchase behavior, product sentiment, and brand perception in one insights platform covering all of Canada. At launch, the average margin of error for Cohesion is plus or minus 7.5% at 95% confidence level for the top 50 cannabis brands in Canada. 1933 Industries announced the execution of a licensing agreement for the launch of Blonde, a high-end California brand making its debut in Nevada. Alternative Medicine Association, a 91% owned subsidiary of the company, receives the exclusive rights to cultivate flower, manufacture pre-rolls, live resin vape pens, and cartridges under the Blonde brand for distribution to licensed dispensaries throughout Nevada under a one-year agreement. And that's your news for today. For the latest weed stocks news, visit the Cannabis Daily on MidasLetter.com.
So, this is a big show. Did you know that, Ed?
It's somewhat of an anniversary, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or not an anniversary, but a milestone.
We just found out that this is the 250th Midas Letter show. And to celebrate your contribution, Ed, there you are.
Thank you very much.
Just a
Thank
little.
you very much. You notice I've already got rid of the first half.
Yeah.
That was at 249th show.
Yeah, it's a nice jar. Put some flowers in it.
Yeah.
There you go.
Flowers, yeah.
So, we made some progress on our goal to 20,000 subscribers. We are currently at 19,949 subscribers. Wow. So thanks everyone for helping us get a little farther. We're not quite at our goal. Maybe today. We'll check at the end of the show and see. We've got our chat room is active. A lot of our favorite guests are here, so we'll keep you updated on who's in the room.
Yeah.
And
I was looking at some charts here, and I was looking at, we were talking about interest rates yesterday.
Yeah.
And the interest rates, they're really low, and yet the 10-year rate was around 142 last week at some point. 142, that's the U.S. rate. It hit 171 or 172, I think, today. So, from 140 to 170, basically a 0.3 of a point. So what impact does that have? Well, in that same period, we saw gold drop about $65 from about $15.65, currently about $14.97.
Right.
Well, let's look at a stock that is really got a lot of eyeballs on it, and that's the biggest bank in the Eurozone, Deutsche Bank. Okay, it's certainly the biggest it's not the biggest by market cap, but it probably was at one point. And I know it's always talked about as a company that's involved in a lot of the derivatives that are around the world. And sometimes they talk about the notional value of all the derivatives in the world in the trillions of dollars. It's a staggering amount. Anyway,
that is a staggering amount.
So let's just put up Deutsche Bank. I've got Deutsche Bank up.
Okay.
And I'm going to.
And what are they trading at?
Right now, it's trading at around $8.30 a share. That's right there. This number here, right? $8.30 a share. And here earlier, a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, we were about $6.40. So $6.40, you could have bought one of the biggest banks in the world, certainly by activity, and you could have sold it a month later and made basically 30%.
Wow.
Think about that. When you buy a 10-year Treasury bond in the U.S., they're guaranteeing you a return of 1.7% for a year. So you give them 10 grand, you get back $10,170. Whippy-doo. And yet, people can't buy enough of these things because I think there's a fear element. But look at Deutsche Bank. So Deutsche Bank, and again, back in here, and I'm gonna clean this up here and put up a smaller chart. I just think there's important technical. I'll put up a 1 month, and then we'll sort of analyze it.
And what was the time frame we were just looking at?
We were looking at a year.
Okay. Now we're at a month.
This is 3 months. I'm gonna look at 3 months. So some fear came into the world in here, and we had a gap, another gap, and these candles are outside the band, outside this Bollinger Band, which makes that statistically a kind of a rare thing. Whenever you've got the price moving out of these big ranges,
right,
which is where they're supposed to trade, it makes people stand up. Hey, well, how long will it be before it gets back into the range? Well, look at this. We're out of the band 1, 2, 3. Sorry for looking sloppy there, but then look at this candle, and you think, well, this candle wasn't much different than that candle, so no big whip. But then look at a little bit of a move that way, and then blasting off. Now we've got candles outside the band to the upside. Mm-hmm. So that's volatile. That's volatile. What does it mean? We're probably a little ahead of ourselves here, I would think. And we'll probably see. Maybe this is saying interest rates have peaked for a while, and they should start coming back in. Now, what does that also mean? It also means because gold's been weak, maybe not. Maybe the interest rates are going to keep going up. You never really know, right? All we're doing is talking here, right? We're just trying to.
That's all we're doing, trying to figure it out.
And I seem to have no problem talking. Just saying. Okay, so that's Deutsche Bank. It's a big move for a very short period of time. Are the world's problems over?
No.
I don't think so.
I don't think the world's problems will ever be over.
What do they say? They say the world will always have enough of what everyone needs, but it'll never have enough of what everyone wants.
People like solving problems, right?
Needs and wants.
Problems are there to be solved, but indefinitely sometimes.
Sure. So that's it for little commentary on interest rates, and let's just take a look at gold while we're hot here.
Yeah, what's gold doing? It's down a little.
Yeah, I think it's down. Just one. Let me. Yeah, it is. It's down. So look, we've this is a 3 month chart.
Okay.
There's the peak of 5 days ago. I think our president in the U.S. made some economic comment about to do with China and the trade and et cetera, et cetera. But look at these 3 red candles here. That's bearish. We're now approaching the lower end of the band, so we got to be getting close to maybe some turn. There's no guarantee in this, right? Just because this is happening doesn't mean it's going to turn. If that was that simple, we'd all be printing money, and I don't think I've been printing money.
I know you're a genius, but
yeah,
even geniuses are wrong sometimes.
Remember, Isaac Newton is a genius, and he lost all his money in the South Sea bubble. And after it was over, he said, "I can calculate the movements of stars, but I can't calculate the madness of men."
People are crazy.
Yeah. So, and I also just want to quickly put up the one of these ETFs that are tied to gold here. Just a second. I'm going to do this quickly because it's got a different candle here that this may take me a minute. Yeah, I just knocked myself out of here. And you know, there's got a lot of action in the marijuana stocks, and Charting Dan Mann will have a lot to say about that later. We're going to probably come up to him and.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Well, he's I think he's a pretty disciplined guy. So just let me get one other chart here quickly. I want to this is the triple levered gold miners. Very, very similar. It was looking like a bit of a doji earlier in maybe about 40 minutes ago, and yeah, it's still.
Yeah, I remember you were showing me that.
Yeah, it's still looking pretty bearish. So now this is very toxic. So if you're playing this game, it moves 3 times as much as the index. It's a triple levered. So that's trouble. You're on the wrong side. You're going to start losing money. Anyway. Okay.
So we've got Nika Domi's here again. We've got Rav's with us. Hey, Rav. Who else we got? Mark Pepper. Always appreciate. We got a great chat room. If you haven't checked out our chat room, there's lots of people with. And maybe if there's anything that you guys want to ask, feel free to put a question in there, and maybe if we have time, we'll get to it. So use the chat room. There's a lot of really smart people in there, good investors, and we're all very happy to have you here.
I've got the, I'm just going to switch over to the Midas Letter Cannabis page, and there we go. So we've got the main index is up. Well, this is, you know, again, we'll be talking about this with Charting Man Dan, but the big index is up 1.5%, and the others are down about anywhere from 1 to 1.9%. So smaller companies are weaker.
Yeah.
Bigger companies are stronger, and a market that, again, this an observation. We seem to be losing steam in the marijuana space as a whole. You'd expect the steam to come out of the smaller, more speculative companies quicker, as a rule. And so we're seeing the big ones are, you know, I think weed's up today, Tilroy's up, Afria's up a bit.
Does that speak to a little bit of consolidation? You know, the big ones continue to get stronger, and then you've got.
Well, you know what? They've really been. You're looking at that chart. I think I can. Can I draw on this thing? I think I can. Maybe I can't. Yeah. There
Two clicks is the winner.
There we go. So this trend accelerated here, and now we've worked that back off. So you know, there's a definite downward bias here.
Right.
Yeah, but on a day like when I say today has been relatively, you know, not so volatile. Yeah, you'd expect some stability to be in the areas of where there's bigger companies, where, you know, better balance sheets, you know, more revenue, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. Well, I've in the news there, Aurora recently expanding their facilities. They got some new financing, or some restructured financing.
I'm going to take a look here. Just 1 second. Index page.
160 million in term loans. What does that mean?
Well, it better mean that they've got some good rates on those loans.
Yeah.
You know, debt.
Bank of Montreal, who did the deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just going to try and get up the. Just a second here.
What do you want to look at?
What I want to do is I want to put up the index page on this large index.
Okay.
There we go. Okay, canopy growth, that's up 13 cents, big deal. Aurora, I mean, they're up, okay? Don't take that the wrong way. Aurora's up. So most of these things here, there's 8 of them, they're all up, but they're up small,
Yeah.
right? True Leaf is up 22 cents, Organigram up 9 cents, Hexo's up only a penny. So a positive day. Kronos has got a bit of a, it's up 3%. And I think we're going to talk about some of these companies coming up with Dan. So maybe we should switch over to Dan.
I think we're going to look at that interview after. We're going to go to the Halo presentation first.
Perfect.
Yeah, halocana.com. If you haven't checked it out, they're a sponsor of the show. And we had a fantastic tour of the facility, looked at a lot of the people there, got some stories, and I think people are really going to enjoy this presentation. So without further ado, Halo Labs.
We here are in the Emerald Triangle, which is where about 60 to 70% of all the marijuana consumed in the United States is grown. It's the biomass that makes the final product that we do, which is extracts. The care and love that we put into the grow out here is really what makes the quality so high.
We take the whole plant and use it, including the A buds, the B buds, that most people typically don't do.
We're extremely good at producing mass amounts of oil very efficiently.
I don't know of many companies that are selling up to 50 SKUs and 5 to 10 different strains of every type of oil and concentrate.
This company started in a chicken coop. Did you know that? In a chicken coop the size of that room right there.
Flash forward 3 years, and look where we are now.
Pretty fucking amazing, isn't it? This is a happy place. I'm Andreas Met. I'm a founder of Halo Labs and the Chief Operating Officer. Today we're out at the East Evans Creek grow site. It's a 6-acre grow site that we use to grow flower to put into our processing. The difference between growing indoors and outdoors or under greenhouse in here is that we grow fewer larger plants here, but we're just basically creating a mass canopy. That smells good too. These plants will be on average 6 to 8 feet tall by the time they're done, and they're going to put out about 3 to 5 pounds each of biomass. We are doing an organic grow here. If you look closely, you'd see bugs flying around. This is an ecosystem here. And we want a vibrant ecosystem because in vibrant ecosystems where there's a tremendous amount of biodiversity, you have a better result in life. And that's expressed in the plants here. We're expecting to grow about 12 to 18,000 pounds of flower this season, and the plants are looking just fantastic.
Hi, welcome to Halo Labs. You are in our Cathedral City manufacturing facility. This is where we produce all of our bulk distillate for California. This is where we bring in our biomass and we begin extraction. Post-extraction, it's brought through here for refinement. What he's doing right there is filtering out the bulk of our fats and waxes. After material is blasted, it has residual solvent, in our case butane and propane, and so we put that material in this oven and we pump off the residual solvent. This is where we bring in our final product. Manufacturers do different things with this material. For example, you can send this to an edibles company. It's been used for vape pens. Halo as a whole, we make our own retail products. However, we don't do that here in California.
We have an operation in Nevada, which is based in Las Vegas, and we have an operation in Oregon.
Welcome to Medford, Oregon. We're in a beautiful 16,000 square foot facility. This is Shatter. We are the #1 producer of concentrates in Oregon by quantity and dollars sold. Brand is a very important component because about 50,000 people a month use our product. But what we've done with brand is we've stratified it. So at the highest tier, we have our Guild. At the second tier, we have our Exhale. Then we have Mojave, and then we have Hush, which is our everyday value brand. I'm very, very excited about the future. And there's always new products coming out, like the Dab Tabs.
We noticed that certain materials actually held the oil in a way that you could transport it and not have it be sticky.
I said, wow, that's really cool. That's a great product on its own, Michael. I think that really has legs.
It could be shatter, it could be live resin, it could be distillate, it could be butter, wax. It just would be put into dab tabs and sold in that form. With that sort of heat buffer that it creates, you're really getting full flavor, the full spectrum.
It makes it much more portable, exchangeable, and it makes it a fun experience too. This is the Go, which is a cartridge, fits on any 510 thread battery. And there's your CBD. And that's legal in all 50 states. Cannabis oils and concentrates allows you to differentiate yourself. We're coming out with live resin sauce pens. We're coming out with clear shatter, where all the chlorophyll's gone, but the flavor remains. So innovating our products will allow us to stay ahead of the game. In 2019, we've seen a dramatic turn in the stock market, where stocks are down 75%. We're still up year to date. To me, I think our stock is undervalued, and I think we got a lot of room to grow.
Let's talk about Aurora. Recently, your financials, you've more or less delivered on
Here are the headlines moving markets today.
If you're lucky to buy it 3 days ago at 37 cents,
and I think it has a lot to do with some of these smaller names giving really...
Recreational cannabis is here.
It's quite dry. So I'm going to eliminate the stocky bits.
That was impressive.
Looks like they got an operation there that's creating all kinds of new innovative products.
Over 50 SKUs.
Really? What's a SKU?
SKU?
That's the number that you're given, eh? Like,
nobody knows what SKU stands for.
But it's a product, right? It's one product.
You have to look it up.
So you're saying they got basically 50 products?
Yeah.
Yeah, you couldn't even have 50 products in Canada, could you?
That's a lot of products. A lot of different ways to get high.
Yeah.
And
no, I think
they're proud sponsor of the show. So
the CEO is he's a hard-working guy, and he comes from I think a lot of business people in his family, and I think that that's you have to. you know, the guys that run these companies, they should know something about business,
Yeah.
right? Like, a lot of times you get in because you think, hey, I like the area.
Did you meet Kieran?
Yeah, I've met him a few times. We did a show
guy?
over at the wine. Yeah, real great guy. Yeah, like, you know, solid guy, sharp dresser. You know, like sharp, you know, like
Nice jackets? Good handshake?
you know, yeah, like a what do they call a wasp? A yellow jacket?
Is that it?
I don't
know. Maybe before my time.
Anyway, no, we did a show at the Wine Academy,
Oh, yeah.
and Kieran was the featured guest, and then he gave a presentation. Yeah, it's quite good.
Have you tried any of that cannabis oils?
You know what, I have
They're
but
popular.
now that it's legal here in Canada, I just go to the OSC and get what I you know, if I want, I'll usually just get a couple pre-rolls or
No black market stuff for you.
Not anymore, because you know what?
It's too easy to get.
My buddy says, well, you know what? How do you know what you're getting? You know, and there is that element, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you don't really think about it when there was nothing legal, but now that it's legal,
You have choice.
you have choice.
Yeah.
It's a little more expensive, but then you pay for, you know,
The convenience is
it's wild. The store is only about 2 miles from my house.
really.
Yeah,
Well,
I can easily walk
they're
there.
not going to be on every corner, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I was in the chat room there, and
Yeah, guy was asking about what? Sky Gold?
yeah,
Let me
Sky
put up-
G.
I know.
Zippity doodah.
Mike England. Mike's an old friend.
Okay.
He's the CEO, and yeah, I know some of the people involved in the company. But let's.
You want to pull up the chart?
Yeah, SKYG, right?
SKYG.
And you know, a lot of these junior mining companies. Let's see here. There we go. 4.5 cents. It shot up recently to 7. They're really having a hard time getting any love, these junior explorers. And I understand with this company, and I hope I'm not saying something that isn't. But what's interesting about some of the plays in British Columbia, and then maybe it's not just British Columbia, but you know, with the sort of I wouldn't say global warming, but climate change.
Yeah.
A lot of glaciers are disappearing. And this property apparently is under a glacier that's no longer there. So it's
what does
never
that
been
mean?
drilled. Well, it's never been drilled.
Okay.
Because you couldn't drill it before, because there's probably 50 feet of ice. And I don't think that's,
How does this change anything?
well, for instance, if you you know, you've been people have been looking for gold in all these places for a long time.
Yeah.
They say all the low-hanging fruit's been picked. But if a glacier disappears, all of a sudden you've got this land, and there may be some ore body exposed at the surface. So you could be walking around, and you say, "Hey, those rocks look pretty. They seem to be glistening in the sun. Maybe there's gold there." And I think that's the case with Sky Gold.
So you're saying the glacier's gone, and there could just be
it could be gold
mineral deposits
Yeah.
right near the surface.
Yeah. No, that, you know, I'm not. I've had conversations with people, and it makes sense. I mean, you go to an area that's got, you know, that's drilled like Swiss cheese. Good luck. You go to an area that's never been drilled before in a prospective camp. Chances are you might find some gold because no one's drilled there before.
Right.
So I think there's some validity to that.
So climate change is going to open up all kinds of opportunities.
If you're not,
If we're still
swimming,
here.
if you're not swimming,
Yeah, absolutely.
you know.
Well, let's.
So anyway, but look at the chart here. Obviously, there's some volume coming into it.
Yeah.
It's had a bit of a bump. I suspect that some of the drilling's going along pretty good. I think there's over 100 million shares in this thing. So 4.5 cents, 5 cents. So the market cap is, let's say, 6 million, 7 million. Mike, you could call me up later and give me shit if you want. But we've chatted recently, and I was, you know, I wouldn't mind getting Mike on the show at some point.
Well, if he's listening.
Well, the other thing you might want to the thing that I think could be positive here, if you want to take something away, is look at the 200-day moving average. So we've been below it here, right?
Right.
And now we've popped through. So that's something, even though it's still, you know, very, very small in terms of.
Take it for what it is.
Take it. Listen, You know what? When these things have been so moribund for so long, it would take anything. And it's got to start somewhere, right? And maybe the next move takes it to, 10 cents or whatever.
Well, let's see. Why don't we throw it to the conversation you had with Dan?
Let's talk to Dan.
Okay.
Joining me now, we've got Dan McDermott, partner and senior analyst at chartguys.com. He's calling us from Asheville, North Carolina. Okay, so nice to see you again, and thanks. And you and I are both chart guys. I won't say I'm a chart guy like you are. I sort of find myself lacking discipline. But so we were talking about the S&P, and you might want to just repeat what you were telling me just before we started recording here. The evidence of proof right now is on the bears to prove you're wrong, right?
Absolutely. We had a range that we were watching after the August dump, and we bounced around within that range for a solid month. And every time we were close to resistance, a bearish article about China comes out. Every time we're close to support, a bullish article comes out. And we finally got the bull break last week. So I'm in a state of mind where the burden of proof is on the bears. You got to show me something. You got to see a lot of bear volume. You got to see breaks of support. And if that doesn't happen, we're looking up at the all-time high.
Yeah. No, I've learned the hard way that markets climb a wall of worry, and sometimes you shouldn't short a dull market. Dull markets usually, it can work both ways, of course. And now gold. Now what I like about gold is if you look at a 10-year chart, and you see that base, we had about a 5-year base from about maybe 2013 to recently, where it was trading in a range, and it broke that range decisively. It looks to me like the gold chart is one of the best looking charts out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And what we do as traders is we can see setups that are tightening ranges, and when ranges are tightening, we pump the brakes and we slow down our aggressiveness. And it's the brakes of those tightening ranges where we get aggressive. And obviously everybody in the gold world got really aggressive on that break, and silver followed along as a little bit of laggard, but the miners were on fire. And we're just going to be looking for some weekly consolidation, which is already underway, and anticipating that gold and silver will give us some weekly higher lows and remain healthy on the longer term time frame.
Now, now maybe this is a bad question to ask you, but would you say that like gold was briefly? I've always looked at the first contract month. That's sort of the one I go to, because I think maybe sometimes the tail wags the dog. Now, do you see the 1500 level as being a level that could be important, or do you think we could go to 14? It wouldn't really matter, would it? If it went to 1470 or 80, we're still entrenched in a very bullish trend.
Yeah, exactly. 1500 mattered on the short-term time frames, because once we broke that 1500 level, it was, the bull miners really reacted to that in the short term. But as you said, on the weekly time frame, as long as we're over 1400, we're looking for a weekly higher low. So anything in the upper 1400s will keep that weekly uptrend intact.
Right. Well, it's fascinating, and we look at the marijuana space, which I'm not going to suggest there's any correlation between bullion and the marijuana sector. I sort of look at the marijuana sector as a sort of a bubble, if you will. The money that was made a year and a half, 2 years ago was fast and furious. I look at Tilray today. It had a great move. I was trying to buy it just before the move happened, and I kept getting stopped out, so it wasn't working. But I was on the right track. I just didn't have. I just couldn't go back to the well. So when you see it, when Tilray goes from like almost 25 to 32, 33, is that about as good as you can expect after what we've seen?
That's a start. That's for us to start paying attention to the longer term time frames. And if they're able to follow through with that, what I need to see is trend changes, which is higher lows and higher highs on the daily time frame. So we had that big solid 4-day bull move, and now we're pulling back and looking for that daily higher low. And I'm just looking out of the corner of my eye. It's up 4% today. So we're watching to see, are these daily higher lows in the major Canadian MJ names like CGC, like Afria, are they forming today? And what we have to see is by the end of this week, we have to break the highs of last week, because that will show us continuation. And that's something that's been lacking the last 4 months in this sector.
Yeah, I noticed I've watched a lot of your interviews that you and James have, and you're consistent on that. You want to see a recent high broken and to the upside, like if it's a bull move to the upside, and that's a validation of a trend change, correct?
Yeah, and it's just keeping pressure on shorts. If we bounce and then we just fade and give it all back, then shorts remain comfortable. We have to put pressure on shorts, and that shows sustained buying pressure if the higher low and higher high gets that follow through.
Now, just a question. I've been around, like I'm of a different vintage. I've been sort of following this stuff for 40 plus years. Would you say there's a lot more sophistication now in terms of, I mean, I'd like to believe there's a lot more people today willing to play both sides than say 20, 30, 40 years ago. And maybe I'm mistaken, but like there's a major buying force and there's a major selling force, and they're there all the time, aren't they? Like and whoever wins, that's where you got to go, right? You got to follow that change.
Yeah, I would say the age of the internet and technology lets us know, hey, we can learn how to do this stuff. And back in the day where we didn't have that information at our fingertips, it was an intimidating world to be in. And the suits and ties, really, we had to go to them to learn how to do this. But now that you've got Google and YouTube and all these sources, it's definitely a much broader reach of people that are dabbling in trading and investing.
Yeah, the internet, in a lot of ways, has leveled the playing field, and will continue to do so in probably ways we can't even comprehend yet. You know,
yeah,
it's mind-boggling that, you know, I have a friend who's a real man for all seasons, and he loves to go to the library, but he says I don't need to go to the library anymore. And he's a practicing physician. He said, if I need to find something out, I can find that out right away, right on my phone. It is mind-boggling, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a bunch of freedom. I mean, you can learn how to do things that otherwise would require a mentor or some hands-on experience. And that was me and trading. I was able to learn a lot in just forums and using the internet that I otherwise would have had no exposure to.
Sure. So what have you got for us today, Dan? Have you got some things we should look at?
Yeah, today's a big day for the U.S. marijuana space just because of MedMen. MedMen had a window that we were waiting to hear back from the Department of Justice about their transaction. They've got a deal that's been pending, and the 30-day window expired. So that's essentially, if the DOJ was going to say, hey, we need more information, this deal can't go through yet, they would have said it already. So with that expiration of the window, we see names like Origin House, OH. They have a deal pending to be bought by CL, Cresco Labs, and they're seeing a big bull move today because the odds of their deal going through is now much higher, that MedMen is making this step forward. So it's a bullish day in that regard, that the Department of Justice is not continuing to hinder these deals going through, and that is allowing for some of the discount. Like OH right now is trading at a discount compared to the deal that is pending with CL, and that discount is shrinking a bit because the odds of the deal going through are increasing a bit.
Okay. Now I've been looking at weed quite a bit. You know, it's had an unbelievable correction, but since two weeks ago, it started moving off that $30.50 level in Canadian dollars. I think it got to 37 and change, about a 7-point move. It looks like it's forming a pretty good bullish channel here that I kind of think it may go higher, but again, you have to sort of wait for confirmations, etc.
Yeah, well, we had what I call seller exhaustion. So we had the bearish reaction to earnings, and then that followed through for a solid week plus. So essentially, it's people selling and shorts going short on the actual earnings, and then you have all the articles that come out in the following week. And then you get to a point where everybody that's going to sell has already sold, and anybody that's going to go bearish has already gone bearish, and that's when the scales tilt, and that's when you get this 20% bounce. So today is going very well as far as what the bulls needed to see happen. We topped out on the initial bounce on Friday. We pulled back yesterday. We pulled back this morning, and then the bulls started buying that dip. So again, as I said previously, if we can break the high of last week by the end of this week, that's going to show me a momentum shift that we have not seen in Canopy in the past 4 or 5 months.
And just out of curiosity, I always like to see a closing high as opposed to a daily high. Like for instance, if we have a high and then it closes below the level that you would like to see breached. I don't put the same weight on that. I guess most technicians do the same.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and it just shows confidence. If bulls are willing to hold their positions overnight, that means they're looking for more follow through, and it's just a vote of confidence.
Yeah. Now, do you look at interest rates?
I keep an eye on them, but honestly, everything that I want to know is in the price. The only thing real to me in any of the markets is the price right now. That's the only thing I care about. And as long as we're seeing higher lows on the weekly time frame of the broader markets, I just ignore all these fundamental fear articles. If we're going to see weakness and fear, it'll be very evident in the price.
Yeah, I guess I was maybe I should have been a little clearer, but I'm thinking about like which way you think interest rates are going from a technical perspective. Like for instance, we last week I think we got very close to the all-time 10-year low in U.S. bond yield. And I think that was a 130 odd. I think that was July of 2016. And I think last week we got down to close to 142, 143. Again, we may look at this in a week or two or three, or maybe a month, 2 or 3 or 6 months, and say maybe we got a double bottom over a 3-year period or something like that. But again, you don't know until it happens, right?
Right, and that's why I say technical analysis is more reactive for me and how I use it. I'm reacting to it. I'm not predicting. So if I see certain levels break and I see trend changes, that's what I'm reacting to. So with the yield here, we're definitely seeing a bounce, and I'm going to be watching the longer term time frames to see if can we change weekly trends, because right now we're just looking for a weekly lower high to be set on this bounce.
Do you put a lot of credence in what relative strength indicators tell you? Like obviously, I mean, when you see something that's under a 20, and it's got lots of volume, and you can't understand, like these things work, don't they? I mean, you don't want to be going long something that's got an RSI of 85, like
exactly.
Yeah.
So I use my main indicators are obviously the price levels, volume, and RSI. If I had to eliminate everything else, that's what I use. And I use a rule of thumb. My rule of thumb is I'm not going to go long on things that are over 70 RSI on a longer term time frame, and I'm not going to go short things that are under 30. And that's just a consistent rule that I have, because if I want to do this for decades, if I'm doing those things, it's going to work sometimes, but law of averages, I'm probably going to lose more than I win. So that's just a standard rule of thumb that I have. And it's also important to look back at the history of the individual asset or stock or whatever it is, because some stocks can have their RSI drop to 20 on the daily often, and other ones very rarely will get there. So history is important as well.
Okay, so Dan, maybe you got a couple charts we can take a look at.
Absolutely. So we'll just take a look here at some of the charts that we were just talking about. First, gold. So gold has lost the daily uptrend. Our last little higher low was at about $1,516, so $1,516. That level broke, and the bears have seen a decent amount of follow through. So when we lose a clear daily uptrend, what I do is zoom out and look at the longer term time frame. So the weekly chart, the last little consolidation that we saw bounced off 1400. So as long as the bulls hold that level, they're going to be just fine for that higher low. So anything in the upper $1,400 range keeps this uptrend intact, and we were certainly overextended with the initial follow through that we saw going up a solid $200. So what we're going to be watching for from here is, can the bulls set their weekly higher low and make their way back up towards the recent high of 1556. So what I'm looking at is, can the bulls continue the uptrend? Or a red flag would be if we find our weekly higher low, we bounce and fail to break the high and then drop down, and that would change the trend and then put the bears in control of the longer term time frame. The S&P 500 strength that we talked about is certainly not helping the gold bulls, as there is a bit of a sigh of relief last week when the S&P 500 broke bullish, and that's pretty much what led to the precious metals breaking their daily time frames bearish. So what we're looking at for CGC, this is pretty much the ideal consolidation, and right as I'm saying this, we're hitting a new high of the day. So we topped out on Friday, or actually yesterday. We're pulling back and we're looking for a higher low to form. And if the bulls are able to turn around and break resistance of 28.41, which is the highest price that we've seen on this bounce, again, that's going to put continued pressure on shorts. Anybody that entered bearish yesterday or today is going to be underwater. and that'll show us that the bulls have some sustained buying pressure. So right now, if we can hold 26.36 and break 28.41, that will be a good sign of confidence for these bulls. I'm actually more bullish APHA, and Afria has my attention. I've been bearish on Afria for probably the majority of the time I've been covering the marijuana sector, and that is because comparative to its peers, speaking about Kronos and Aurora and Canopy, it has been weaker. So I have been bearish, but this weekly time frame is much further along with trying to change its trend than the other major names, and that's because of the bullish reaction to earnings. We had the bullish reaction to earnings, we pulled back from the profit taking, we established a new support level, and now if the bulls can break 760, which was the high of that reaction, that's going to give us a weekly trend change, and it'll be the first name in the marijuana sector out of the major players in Canada that changes its weekly trend. And that would be notable because we've pretty much been in a clear weekly downtrend for a very long time. So I have my attention on Afria. And now let's look over the charts that I was talking about, the deal with MedMen. So you look at MedMen today, and it's only up about 1 to 2%. And you might be saying, well, if the bullish news was for the MedMen deal passing its time window and the DOJ not responding, which is a step forward, why is MedMen only up 1 to 2%? And why is OH up 7 or 8%? OH is having a big breakout day. We confirmed a daily bull flag, and pretty much this is the move that all Canadian MJ names want to see happen on their charts. Healthy, brief consolidation into continuation. And again, just looking back quickly at CGC, the CGC chart is hoping that that's what the rest of the week looks like. Brief consolidation into continuation. But the reason that OH is having such a more bullish day than MedMen is because of the way that the deals are working right now. So MedMen was buying another company, and there is no way to collect on that discount. There's a discount between companies because we're not positive that these deals are going to go through. So OH, even this morning, was trading at a 20% discount as to what their shares will be worth comparative to the price of CL when CL buys OH and the share conversion takes place. So that 20% is because the market has been unsure of whether or not the deal is going to go through. So as soon as we get that MedMen news, hey, the DOJ didn't ask for more information and they're backing off a little bit, that increases the odds that the deal is going to go through between OH and CL, and that means that discount is going to get bought up by traders and investors, because if the deal were announced tomorrow, that's going to be an instant 10 to 15% payday for that discount getting gobbled up. So OH has my attention in the USMJ sector because it's one of the stronger names, technically speaking. We already had a little weekly higher low and higher high, and we're going to be watching for how much follow through can these bulls put together as one of the technical USMJ leaders.
Dan, that's a great interview. Really appreciate the opportunity to come on and talk to you. And hopefully I'll have that opportunity again in the next short while. Anyway, thank you very much, and hope to talk to you soon.
Thanks a lot, Ed. Good to see you.
Okay, thanks, Dan.
That seemed like a really fun interview.
Yeah, you know, I was sitting here and I'll be frank. Well, I'm still Ed, but I'll be frank.
Fair enough.
You know, when I see interviews and I listen to people talk about this, I don't know what it means. I really don't know what it means. I can't run out and buy the stock until I look at a chart. And when I watch my interview with Dan, I know why. Because until I see a chart, I can't tell you anything. Because everything that's known is the buyers and sellers know everything that's out there. And so to me, I'm not making it a cop-out. And he said it too. Price says it all.
Right.
It's all in the price. So you can say
Volume
that they're one
and RSI.
Well, those are his other.
If he couldn't look at anything else.
If he couldn't look at anything else, yeah. Now I like the Bollinger Bands as well.
Yeah.
And I'm always looking for You know, and
those are those exercise bands.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, you talk to a technical guy, it's easy to communicate.
Yeah, you're speaking the same language.
Yeah, exactly. So that was good. That was good.
We had a question from the chat room about Crown.
Yeah. So Crown Mining is a junior. It's a little different. Steve Dunn's the CEO. He's a good friend. I'm sure I can say this because James has said it on the air that he's a shareholder of Crown.
Okay.
I'm a shareholder of Crown. Crown has a pretty big deposit in California, and there's three commodities: copper, silver, and gold. It's there.
Right.
But nobody cares because there's nothing going on. We're not spending any money on drilling. It's been drilled already back 50, 60 years ago by Placer, which was a big copper company back then.
Right.
But there's all these reasons why it never went into production, and it may never go into production, but we think eventually someone will buy it as copper supplies. And, you know, the conversation with a guy like Johnny.
Yeah.
We had that interview.
For copper.
You know what? Copper, you can't transfer energy. It's the cheapest way to transfer energy.
Right.
But so let's put up the chart.
Okay.
Let's put up the chart. And
it's on the screen.
Yeah, there it is there. That chart doesn't tell you much. I'm not knocking the guys in the control room. Hey guys, sorry about that.
Yeah.
Wait, wake up and smell the coffee. So Crown Mining, and this is, forget that. I'll start with a 10-year chart just to put things in perspective.
We're not at 20,000 subscribers yet. Oh, 19,950.
We're still not at 20,000.
50 short.
So here's the last 10 years of Crown Mining. Okay, so look, I got in here about a year and a half ago, maybe a little longer than that. Started buying it. Looks like I think I started buying it in here somewhere, and we had a nice little pop here into PDAC of 2018. Yeah, that's 2019. Look, the thing that I kind of wish I learned a long time ago.
Teach me.
If something's moving along the bottom, it may continue to do it a lot longer than you're prepared for. And that's sort of where I kind of feel. And again, full disclosure, I'm got my Frank hat on again. When this thing turns, and it'll turn because of fundamentals, they have 2 to 5 billion pounds of copper, 25 million ounces of silver, 750,000 ounces of gold. If you add it all up, it's a huge amount of money, but it takes a lot of money to put things in production. And this thing's only probably been drilled 20, 30, 40%. In other words, there's a lot more there. It just takes the right environment. And there's people say, well, California is the wrong place, et cetera, et cetera. So what
do we need to see in the interest rates? They need to.
Well, we need to see price of copper going up. Price of copper's
got to go up, and then
price of copper's got to go up, and that's got to.
And Crown's looking better.
Price of copper won't go up unless the world's starting to look rosy because all this infrastructure is being built. You think about electric cars, for instance. They need 4 times as much copper in an electric car than you do in a gas or a gas-fueled car.
Yeah.
So where's that copper going to come from?
The ground.
They say that the Codelco, which is the biggest copper company in the world out of Chile produces more copper than any other country. They say now that 3 of their largest mines, Codelco, need at least 280 to 290 to be profitable. Where's copper? I think it's 262. So there's some things going on, and it'll happen. Like gold moved sideways for 5-6 years, and I thought it was going to happen a lot sooner. It didn't. It happens when it happens. But now gold looks like it's going to move. The fact that gold's moved, I don't think copper's that far behind. As far as this company, they've got the deposit. They don't spend a lot of money. Steve is a real steward when it comes to running a company. He doesn't take a big salary. He owns a lot of stock. I think he owns well over 20% of the stock,
wow.
Which is what you want to see. Skin in the game by the guy running it. Steve's been around. He's a sophisticated guy. He's not as old as I am, so he always has to listen to what I tell him because he has to respect his elders.
Absolutely.
I like this. It just needs that right ingredient, or that one or two. A shareholder that wants to ultimately put this in production.
Well, we'll keep watching it. I think that that kind of wraps up everything. If you haven't yet, hit subscribe, hit that bell. And my name is Mark Latimer.
Yeah.
Ed, say goodbye to our lovely audience.
I'm Ed Milewski.
Ed Milewski.
Okay, so thanks a lot, folks.
We'll see you tomorrow.